Good morning. Welcome to another edition of MIW. Got the D-Man here, and I am glad you could join me. Today, we are still in the book by Neville, The Secret of Imagining. I think that's the one. He has so many, but I found this while I was reading it the other day. I've read it many times, but I like to share this because it's so valuable. I mean, this stuff really works if you work it. You have to put out the effort. Nobody can do your push-ups for you, and nobody can do your mental training, for lack of a better way to put it, or mental programming, however you want to say it. But if you do the work, you reap the results regardless. The same as if you go out there and try to dig a ditch. If you do the work, you're going to have a ditch. Simple as that seems, many people want results, but they don't want to do the work. But don't look at it as work. Look at it as something enjoyable, as an adventure, because life is an adventure if you perceive it that way. Smash that like button. Smash that like button if you're watching on YouTube. And if you're on Instagram, leave a comment in the comment section. Here we go. We are on page 326. The Ideas of Good and Evil. W.B. Yeats. Having described a few experiences similar to this experience of mine, he writes, "If all who have declared or described events like this have not dreamed, we should rewrite our histories. For all men, certainly all imaginative men, must be forever casting forth enchantments, glamour, illusions, and all men, especially tranquil men, who have no powerful egoistic life, must be continually passing under their power." So if you're not dreaming, if you're not imagining and taking action on that, you're probably working for someone who is. Those who do not have goals or visions are working for people who have goals and visions. It reminds me of that, there's a commercial or a post somewhere where the guy is standing next to his Lamborghini, and the employee walks up and says, "Man, that's a beautiful car." And the owner of the car and the company says, "Well, if you work hard and come in every day and show up on time, I'll have another one next year." It's kind of a slap in the face, but basically what he's saying is, you work for me, I have goals, you don't. And if you work hard for me, then I'll buy me another Lamborghini next year. It's so true. But the guy, the employee, he could have one too. He just needs to set a goal, a vision. People without goals are like a ship without a rudder. They take off from the port. Where are they going to end up? Who knows? They have no destination and no guidance to get there. We will continue. Determined imagination. Determined imagination. If you have a determined imagination, then you're not just imagining, you're doing that, plus you're taking action on intuitive guidance. We all get intuitive guidance. The problem is most of us rationalize it away. We explain it away. We come up with all the reasons why that won't work. Or we don't know what to do after the first step, so we never take the first step. Like Martin Luther King says, you don't have to see the whole staircase, just take the first step. I love that quote. Great man. Determined imagination, thinking from the end, is the beginning of all miracles. I would like to give you an immense belief in miracles, but a miracle is only the name given by those who have no knowledge of the power and function of imagination. To the works of imagination. Imagining oneself into the feeling of the wish fulfilled is the means by which a new statement is entered. This gives the state the quality of isness. Hermes tells us, that which is manifested. That which has been or shall be is unmanifested, but not dead. For the soul, eternal activity of God emanates all things. That's the higher self, the God part of you. Universal intelligence, divinity, higher power, whatever name you choose to call it, Muhammad, Buddha, whatever works for you. What does it matter what name you put on it? It is a power greater than yourself, a power that resides within you and out there too, if you want to look at it that way. But is anything really out there, or is anything really in you? Everything is connected. We only see things as separate. I could not see something in you were it not in me. It would be invisible to me, whether it annoys me or inspires me. I have that quality or character within myself. Otherwise, I would be blind to it. The future must become the present in the imagination of the one who would wisely and consciously create circumstances. We must translate vision into being, thinking of into thinking from. Imagination must center itself in some state and view the world from the state. Thinking from the end is an intense perception of the world of fulfilled desire. Thinking from the state desired is creative living. Ignorance of this ability to think from the end is bondage. It is the root of all bondage, with which man is bound. To passively surrender to the evidence of the senses underestimates the capacities of the inner self. Once man accepts thinking from the end as a creative principle in which he can cooperate, then he is redeemed from the absurdity of ever attempting to achieve his objective by merely thinking of it. So you have to think as if you already have it. It may be difficult if you're thinking about wanting some money and the bill collectors are calling you and knocking on your door. But you have to act as if, to think as if, to think from, to think the same way you would think as if everything you wanted was already yours, because it is already yours. You are blinded to it. You're unable to see it because you are going by the evidence of your senses. Remember, what is seen is transitory, will pass away. What is unseen is eternal. That's the thought world. That was what one of the great masters said. Construct all ends according to the pattern of fulfilled desire. According to your faith, be it unto you. According to your belief. However you believe, it will come to pass in your world. The whole of life is just the appeasement of hunger and the infinite states of consciousness from which a man can view the world are purely a means of satisfying that hunger. Your hunger is your desires, or your desires. The principle upon which each state is organized is some form of hunger to lift the passion for self-gratification to ever higher and higher levels of experience. Desire is the mainspring of the mental machinery. It is a blessed thing. It is a right and natural craving which has a state of consciousness as its right and natural satisfaction. It's perfectly normal to desire. There are some religious sects that say you need to eliminate all desire, but as I've read, to have a desire to eliminate all desire is in itself a desire. So it is impossible to eliminate all desire. I think it is very possible to eliminate attachment to desire. It's okay to desire things as long as that desire does not have you, because it's really hard to bring anything into your experience if your desire is so strong that you're attached to it, that you're focused on the achievement of the desire to the point where if you don't get it, you're unhappy, or you're thinking about when's it going to come, or why isn't it here. That hinders you from creating what you want. You have to accept the way things are now but yet live as if you had what you desired. If you can understand that, it sounds contradictory, but it's really not. It is necessary to have an aim in life, because if you don't, you're like a ship without a rudder, wandering aimlessly around the ocean, blown this way by this wind, blown that way by that wind. You never arrive anywhere, maybe crashed on the rocks, because you never had a destination. You're like a ship without a rudder and without a destination. You end up right where you planned on, nowhere. It is necessary to have an aim in life. Without an aim, we drift like that ship. What wantest thou of me? Luke 18:41. I'm not teaching religion here, okay? But the great master, and there are many great masters, but this is one of them. Okay, is the implied question asked most often, what do you want from me? What do you want from yourself? What do you want from life? Most people don't know what they want. And if you're not sure about what you want, just pick something and head out in that direction. Pick what you think you want. Don't wait till you know exactly 100% sure what you want before you head out. Because set a destination and head out. You may decide to go one way or the other. You may be led into something better. Usually that's what it is. If you allow yourself to be led, you will be led into something better, usually. Unless you get exactly what you want. Which usually we don't know exactly what we want. But we need to head out in the direction of what we think we want. Without an aim, we drift. Remember that. Drift. Drifter. Napoleon Hill wrote a book. What was it called? Conversation with the Devil? Outwitting the Devil. They talk about drifting, the devil. He uses the devil. It's like a metaphor. He has a conversation with the devil. And they talk about drifting. The devil can get drifters because they have no destination. They're easy to pull into vices. Okay. As the hart panteth after the water brooks, so panteth my soul after thee, O God. That's Psalms 42:1. I'm not sure why I put that in there. I'm sure there's a reason. Okay. It is a lack of this passionate direction to life that makes man fail of accomplishment. Excuse me. The spanning of the bridge between desire, thinking of, and satisfaction, thinking from, is all important. We must move mentally from thinking of the end to thinking from the end. This reason could never do. By its nature, it is restricted to the evidence of the senses. But imagination, having no such limitation, can. Desire exists to be gratified in the activity of imagination. Through imagination, man escapes from the limitation of the senses and the bondage of reason. I'm going to move this over a little bit here. Man escapes from the limitation of the senses, sight, smell, touch, reason, the bondage of reason. Were it not for the people who wanted to step beyond the bondage of reason, we would not be flying around the world today as we are. We certainly wouldn't be going into outer space. We wouldn't be talking on telephones because all these things defied the reasoning of the time. Marconi was I think he was the one who was able to transmit sound over wires. He said that he thought, or he believed that he could take sound and transmit it through the air. His two best friends had him committed because they thought he was crazy. There was no way you could transmit voices or sound without a wire in the time. That was the reasoning mind. So, but yet he believed in imagination that it could be done. Now we pick up a cell phone, talk to somebody on the other side of the world. We can even see them in a matter of seconds, or maybe less than a second. It's a common thing today. But back then it was like, you're crazy. It can't be done. There is no stopping the man who can think from the end. Nothing can stop him. He creates the means and grows his way out of limitation into ever greater and greater mansions of the Lord, states of consciousness. It does not matter what he has been or what he is. All that matters is what he does. What does he want? He knows that the world is a manifestation of the mental activity which goes on within himself. I'll read that again. He knows that the world is a manifestation, a reflection, an outpicturing of the mental activity which goes on within himself. In your kingdom, within you. You are the king of the kingdom of your mind. You control what goes on in there. And if you don't, you need to learn how to control what goes on in there. Because whatever goes on in there will be reflected in your outer world, in your experience, in the situations of your life. Okay, so he strives to determine and control the ends from which he thinks. In his imagination, he dwells in the end, confident that he shall dwell there in the flesh, in reality, in his body. He puts his whole trust in the feeling of the wish fulfilled and lives by committing himself to that state within himself and his thought world. For the art of fortune is to tempt him to do so. Like the man at the pool of Bethesda, he is ready for the moving of the waters of imagination, knowing that every desire is ripe grain to him who knows how to think from the end. Every desire is ripe grain. Every desire is ready. It's there. It's ready for fulfillment. But only he can bring it to fulfillment by the thoughts he holds within himself, thinking from it as if it already exists. He is indifferent to mere responsible probability and confident that through continuous imagination, his assumptions will harden into fact. I know this to be true because I can look back on my life and see how I created everything with my thoughts. How my thoughts over a period of days, weeks, and months created the experiences in my life. And if you can look back over your life objectively and think about what you thought about before certain things happened to you, you too can see how your thoughts created the experiences that you have had in your life. So if that is true, and it is, you can create the future you desire with your thoughts. But it takes willpower, not the force of will to force your will on other people, to push and to prod and to manipulate other people to do things, but the force of will to maintain your thoughts on what you want and off of what you don't want. You can do that. Only you can do it. By a force of will, by forcing your thoughts and your imagination in the direction of what you desire and off of what you don't desire. But how to persuade men everywhere that thinking from the end is the only living? How to foster it in every activity of man? How to reveal it as the plenitude of life and not the compensation of the disappointed? That is the problem. It's actually so simple, too simple for the mind of man, who wants to complicate everything. Most good ideas are simple. Life is a controllable thing. You can't directly control outer circumstances. I mean, you can go pick up a piece of paper, you can wash the dishes. Yes, you can do that. But you can't control the outer world of reality in general. But you can control your thinking. And when you do that, your outer world of reality will conform to the desires of your dominant thoughts or your fears. Fear is a magnet. It's the opposite of faith or belief. Actually, it is belief, but it's belief in what you don't want. Life is a controllable thing. You can experience what you please once you realize that you are his son. I'm not quite sure how to explain that. He talks about this in a way sometimes that I have a hard time grasping. I may get the gist of it, but I don't know how to explain it to you. I could try, but I won't in this case. And that you are what you are by virtue of the state of consciousness from which you think and view the world. I think what he means is the Father, which is your higher self. You are the son of your Father. The expression of your Father, which is your consciousness, which is what's going on your inner world, is expressed by your body, by yourself in the outer world. Best I can do. Son, thou art ever with me, because he said, I and my Father are one. So as I've said before, we have the little I, which is who is talking to you right now. And then we have the big I, who actually runs your life and my life. The higher self, God, or whatever. Whatever works for you. Son, thou art ever with me. You are always with me, and all that I have is yours. And easier English. They use the old King's English there. Okay. Well, I think we're going to stop there. Smash that like button, subscribe. We got a video coming out every day. Leave a comment in the comment section. And if you'd like to get my help personally, you can contact me at marksinspirationalguidance@gmail.com. And if you're watching this on Instagram, YouTube link is in my bio. And if you're watching this on YouTube, check out my Instagram, Mark's Inspiration. Mark's Inspiration? Yeah, that's it. Have a great day. Thanks for joining me.